3.
All right, well, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here and taking the time. I know you're all ready to gain some insight on skin cancer. My name is Carolina Hernandez and I'll be your presenter today. A little bit about myself. I hope to graduate this coming December with my bachelor's in applied technology and performance improvement. This presentation is actually specifically from one of my courses that I'm taking, technical presentation skills. I have what feels like 4 kids. One of them is a dermatology clinic in McKinney. As their manager, I have to make sure that my staff is taken care of and things are running smoothly. Then I have 2 amazing kiddos, Isaiah Gabriel and Samira Grace. They'll be almost ages 4 and 2 in August. So I definitely have some party planning to do. And then finally I have my husband Jeremiah. He takes care of me quite a bit, but he can be one of my kids at times. I'd actually now like to give each one of you an opportunity to introduce yourselves to the group, if you don't mind.
Hello, I'm Jeremiah. I'm Carolina's husband, one of her third child, as she says at times. I'm just here ready to learn and ready to help as best I can.
Hi, my name is Lily Garcia. I am here with Carolina and I would like to learn more about skin cancer.
I'm Gracie Almanza and I'm here also to get more information about cancer.
Hi, I'm Erica, and I really want to learn about skin cancer. Hi, I'm Jennifer, and I want to learn about skin cancer.
This is Angel Hernandez.
Martin Alonzo. Just came here to hopefully learn about some skin cancer and stay out the sun.
All right, well, thank you so much for introducing yourselves to the group. I did want to give you all a little overview of what's going to happen today and what's today's agenda. So first off, we'll start with the presentation. It's just skin cancer, isn't it? And then we'll break into a discussion where you get to share what was a fact that was like, wow, that was amazing, or a myth that maybe you didn't know about. And then we'll go over sunscreen products that are the best to buy. And then we'll do how to do self-skin examinations at home. And then we'll end with a brainstorming session so that we can all share ideas, how we can share this knowledge that we just learned today with others. All right, so does anyone have any questions or concerns? If anyone needs to use a restroom, they're actually right behind you. If y'all need some water, feel free to get up quietly. If y'all have a question or concern, just raise your hand and I can address that with you. Does anyone have any questions or concerns right now before we begin? No? And then those notes that I did provide for you, just feel free to make notes. I'll let you know when I have a key fact that I really want you to write down. But I will be able to provide y'all some folders at the end. But feel free to take notes as we go along. All right? Well, let's get started. So we hear about cancer all the time, right? Mothers tell their daughters they need to get mammograms done in fear of breast cancer. And fathers tell their sons to get their prostates checked in fear of prostate cancer. But do we ever hear anyone tell you, you should go to your local dermatologist and get a full-body skin exam? No one tells you that, right? I mean, some of the things that we do here are, if I do have a funny or suspicious-looking mole, I can probably just get that cut right off before it turns cancerous. It's just skin cancer, isn't it? And the question that I really want you to ask is, do we really understand skin cancer? It just doesn't really make it to the top of our concerns. And so that actually leads me to a story that I want to share with you about Eric and Jill Sizemore, a couple from Ohio. So Eric was an Air Force veteran and a manager at an auto repair shop. And just like any other person, he would go to a tanning salon and get his base tan. Of course, he wanted to look good before he went to a vacation at a beach destination somewhere. And he actually had a huge awakening in October of 2008 when he found out that one of his ugly moles turned out to be melanoma, which is the most dangerous form of skin cancer. And now, melanoma didn't run in his family, so this really caught them by surprise. You know, we never heard of it, we never got it, what is it? And so the news was even worse after that. They found out that it had now spread to his lymph nodes, And this is the area where it's actually easier to spread throughout the body. And so they were luckily able to remove those affected lymph nodes, and they were able to remove those tumors. And to prevent reoccurrence, his oncologist recommended that he get high-dose injections of interferon, which is a drug used to heighten your immune system to help fight those foreign invaders like skin cancer cells. Now, after 8 months of treatment, it didn't work. He had about 100 red inflamed tumors all over his legs. And now it got worse. It had spread to his brain, and he had to get emergency brain surgery to get this lesion removed. And so they tried different drugs and different clinical trials to see what could help with the melanoma. And so finally they had a ray of sunshine. In January of 2011, he found out that he could be on a drug that actually combined 2 drugs together to halt and reverse tumor growth. And so it worked. Jill, his wife, even said that his legs cleared up in about a week. And she stood by him the entire time and actually recorded some of these videos and his progress on YouTube. And you can watch that if you like. It's called Tan Today, Tumors Tomorrow. And so she shared that his legs had cleared up, and they thought, wow, this is it. He's good to go. Sadly, a couple of months later, the skin cancer came back with a vengeance. And so now he had multiple lesions on his brain, and he even spread to his spinal cord. And in one of the videos that she shared, he was now paralyzed from the armpits down, and he said, look at me and ask if it's worth it. It's not. Just to look good for one night? It has robbed me 3 years of my life. Eric now died in August 3rd of 2011 at the age of 47. He left a son, 2 granddaughters, teenage stepdaughters, his parents, and his siblings. And so now their family's mission is to share this information and let you understand that this could happen to any one of us. And we have to be our own health advocates, not only for ourselves, but for our children. And it's even impacted a man so much on Facebook that he said that he couldn't bear to sell his at-home tanning bed. He had to destroy it. So can you imagine, and let's just put ourselves in that position right now. Can you imagine a family or friend disregarding an ugly mole only to find out when it's too late that it's something more than that? We couldn't live with ourselves, right? Now, I know some of you might even think, well, I don't use tanning beds. I'm not at risk. Well, we'll go over a few of those skin cancer myths in just a moment, but I do want us to understand, what is skin cancer? So skin cancer is the uncontrolled growth of abnormal skin cells. It occurs when unrepaired DNA damage to skin cells trigger mutations or genetic defects that lead the skin cells to multiply rapidly and form malignant tumors. Now, what causes those unrepaired DNA damage to skin cells? Well, of course, like we talked about, UV produced by tanning beds. And in some families with inherited melanomas, genetic changes that greatly increase the risk of melanoma are passed from one generation to the next. And then finally, ultraviolet radiation exposure from sunshine. It could be over the course of a lifetime, daily year-round exposure to the sun's UV light, and just intense exposure in the summer months. So as you see, it's not just from the tanning beds, it's from regular exposure to the sun on a daily basis. So now your skin is the largest organ on your body, and it's composed of 3 layers with different cells. And so each skin cancer is named after the cell that becomes cancerous. So as you see here, we have the epidermis, which is the outermost layer of the skin. And then we have the dermis. And so here you can see that the squamous cells are located on the outer layer of your epidermis. And then the basal cells are on the lowest level of the epidermis. And then we have the melanocyte. So that's what becomes melanoma. Does anyone know what the melanocyte does? No? So the melanocyte actually produces melanin, which is the primary cell responsible for the color of our skin. So now there's different types of cancers and there's different types of precancers. With those different types, there comes different types of treatment, and with those treatments come different side effects. Now the side effects depend on your overall health and the stage of the cancer. Now I know you may be wondering, why would I want to know what side effects there are to the skin cancer treatment. And that's because I want you to understand that prevention is key. You know, there's no surefire way to prevent skin cancer 100%, but there are things that we could do to reduce that risk. So now, before I actually get started, I do want to share with you that we'll just go over the images of what skin cancers and precancers there are. And I do have pamphlets available in your folders, and I'll show you an example of one. So they look like this, and they go in a little bit more into detail what basal cell carcinoma is, atypical nevus, and so those can definitely help you with what exactly is it. But I'll show you at least images of what those skin cancers and precancers are. So here we have actinic keratosis, and they're scaly growths that happen to sun-exposed areas, mainly on the face, your balding scalp, your lips, the back of your hands. And so AKs can actually be treated 100% before they turn cancerous. Then we have atypical moles. They're not typical moles, they're called atypical moles. And they're actually unusual benign moles. And anyone who has about 10 or more of these are 12 times at a greater risk to develop melanoma than the general population. And these can occur anywhere in your body. They can happen, you know, underneath your buttocks, in the back of your legs, somewhere where you probably wouldn't see them. And they normally develop after birth. You're not really born with them. Then we have Merkel cell carcinoma, and this is a rare aggressive form of skin cancer. It's actually more likely to reoccur after 2 years of your primary diagnosis. And now, while it is 30 times rarer than melanoma, 1 in 3 of these patients who develop die, versus 1 in 6 who get melanoma. Then here we have basal cell carcinoma, or BCC. It's actually the most common form of skin cancer. Then we have squamous cell carcinoma, or SCC, and this is the second most common form of skin cancer. In SCC, you have to be sure. Now, both BCC and SCC are slow-growing cancers, but they can be pretty aggressive, and you don't want to leave them untreated because they can spread to like fatty tissues of your body, and so you don't want it to be disfiguring, because if they have to remove a cancer, they have to remove everything, meaning a huge chunk, and they mainly happen on sun-exposed areas, which is what? Your face, your neck, your legs, arms. And then finally we have melanoma, which is again the most dangerous form of skin cancer. And so people normally with moles, a lot of moles, tend to have the higher risk at getting melanoma. And before, people of a younger age, you should feel like, you know, those older adults, they'll get melanoma before I do. That's actually incorrect. Melanoma is increasingly common in younger adults, ages 25 to 29. And it's actually increasing in women, ages 15 to 29. Alright, so here are a few skin cancer myths that we can go ahead and debunk. I am not at risk because I rarely go outside. That's false. Dermatologists have determined that even brief exposure to the sunlight, like driving with your sunroof down, or walking around during peak hours, which is 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. People who tan easily and rarely burn will not get cancer. That's false. There is no such thing as a healthy suntan. Any skin color change is skin damage. Dark-skinned men and women are not at risk for sun damage and skin cancer. That's false. Even though they are at a lower risk than fair-toned people, it's actually a little bit more dangerous for them to get the cancer, because normally you don't find those cancer until it's at a later stage when it's more dangerous. Then you don't need to wear sunscreen on a cloudy day. That's false. Those UV rays still penetrate through those clouds, and I have seen people who have even been sunburned on a cloudy day. And then finally, teenagers and young people don't have to worry about skin cancer. It only affects older adults. That's false. Like I said earlier, ages 25 to 29 is increasing for melanoma, and 15 to 29 in women. Still think it's just skin cancer? If you do, I have 4 did you know facts. And I'm going to say these a little quick so we won't keep you here all night, but did you know that skin cancer is the most common of all types of cancer? Did you know that 1 in 5 Americans will develop skin cancer in the course of a lifetime? Did you know that women who have had the most common forms of skin cancer like BCC or SCC are 2 to 3 times more likely to also get deadlier cancers like breast, colon, lung? Did you know that one person dies of melanoma every hour or every 52 minutes? Did you know that several sunburns over the course of a lifetime can double or even triple melanoma risk no matter when the sunburns occurred? So that right there actually scares me quite a bit because as a child I was about severely sunburned 3 times, so now I'm at a higher risk for getting melanoma. Did you know that during the winter, reflections from snow can double the UV rays from the sun? Did you know that most moles will never cause any problems, but a person who has many moles is more likely to develop melanoma? Did you know that more people develop skin cancer because of tanning than develop lung cancer because of smoking? And finally, did you know that an estimated 90% of skin aging is caused by the sun? So technically we're all old right now because of the sun and the exposure to the sun. Alright, so I talked about what skin cancer is and what it can do. So now we have to take the right steps for prevention. So of course we want to use the right sunscreen. And I actually have a brochure for you that has how to pick a good sunscreen, and we'll go over that in just a moment. And you also want to reduce exposure to the sun and limit the UV exposure. So of course it's good for your body and your soul to go outside, but your skin is also important and you want to protect it as much as you can. So again, remember, don't go outside from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And you can also do the shadow test. So if you go outside and your shadow is shorter than yourself, then you might want to run back inside because it's a little too hot. Then we have protective clothing. And there's actually special clothing that has label UPF on it that means ultraviolet protective factor. And that means that it's specially made to protect those UV rays from the sun. Then of course you want to do your self-examinations at home at least every 3 months, if not every month. And just because you're doing those self-examinations at home doesn't mean that you don't need to go to the doctor. It is important to schedule your yearly dermatology exam, and they can quickly identify if you have an abnormal mole, get a biopsy, and determine if it's cancerous or not. And let's say, for example, you have a diagnosis of actinic keratosis, which can turn into cancer. The doctor will remove those and then follow up with you because you can develop more. And then finally, education. So you made the right step by being here with me today and learning about skin cancer, but you also want to share that information with others, get more information about it, and share it to your children. You want, when they go outside, put on that sunscreen, start creating those healthy sun habits now. Alright, so now it's discussion time, and if each one of you could just share a little bit about what you learned today, what was a surprising myth that you uncovered was untrue, anything like that. Let's talk about it.
Right.
Alright, so if y'all could go ahead and share a surprising fact or something that was a wow factor for you.
Well, I have something. I mean, I hate the sun. I really don't like going outside, and I hardly try to go outside. But knowing that, you just told me that even you could get a skin cancer just being in the sun for like, an hour or 30 minutes. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, definitely.
I didn't know that, people really are dying just about every hour of these.
Yeah, that's a scary fact.
What I've learned is the prevention. It's like teaching your kids at a small age, start teaching them, to protect themselves of the skin cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned a lot today of all the types of skin cancer you can get.
Alright. Anyone else? I'm sorry, your name is Jeremiah, is
Yes.
that right? Jeremiah, do you have something that you'd like to share?
Yeah, actually it was very surprising to see melanoma is really diagnosed. You really think old people only get it, after so many summers in their vacation homes. But to hear that even, 15-year-olds, mainly in women, young ladies, to see they're diagnosed with that factor, and that's sad news.
It is. All right, well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. All right, well, again, like I said, thank you so much for sharing with us. So now, I actually like to go over what type of sunscreen should you buy. And so I've provided these flyers in your folders when you get to take them home, and it gives you some guidelines on what type of sunscreens you should buy. So for example, you want to buy a broad spectrum sunscreen. You want it to be able to cover both UVA and UVB rays from the sun. Then you also want to get a sunscreen that at least SPF 30 or higher. And then finally, you want to get a sunscreen that's very water resistant, or at least water resistant. But you know, we sweat throughout the day, and so the better the sunscreen, the better it protects us. Now, of course, I do want to let you know that sunscreen should be applied every 2 hours. I know a lot of people normally put on sunscreen in the morning, feel like they're good to go. No. Apply every 2 hours and at least 20 to 30 minutes prior to going outside. You need to let it soak in a little bit. And so here's a fact that I'd actually like you to write down. 2 of the ingredients that you need to look for in a sunscreen is called titanium dioxide and zinc oxide. Or you could just call it titanium or zinc. And so these 2 ingredients are important in a sunscreen because it actually creates a protective barrier on your skin. Any other types of sunscreens create a chemical change, and to me, chemical change doesn't sound very good. But I know that my dermatologist actually recommends these 2 ingredients in your sunscreen. Again, that's zinc and titanium. And I actually have a couple of products with me today that I can show you. A special brand, actually a brand that we carry at our office, is called SkinCeuticals, and also LTEC. So if you ever hear those 2, they're really amazing sunscreens. And so for example, here I have a Physical Matte Fusion, and this is from SkinCeuticals, and it's specifically for the face. And it's actually tinted, so if I were to put it on, it covers, a few flaws. It's not perfect, but at least it does something. And then men, surprisingly, buy it quite often. It doesn't look like you're wearing makeup. It's sunscreen. So it really protects you, and of course it does give you that little, tintedness to it. So that's pretty good. And then also we have here the LTEC. And if you see on the back, I know you probably can't see from here, but it does advertise that it has zinc oxide. And so sunscreen companies understand that zinc and titanium are quite important to some people, so they will advertise that they have that ingredient in their sunscreen. And then SkinCeuticals even carries a product, specifically sunscreen for your eyes. Your eye area can sometimes be a little fragile, and sometimes when you put on sunscreen, it burns your eyes a little bit. Maybe you got it in there too close. And so they made specific sunscreen for the eye area. All right, do you have any questions on sunscreen so far? All right. So now I'd like to show you how to do a self-skin examination at home. And so, of course, what you're going to need is yourself. You're going to need a bright light, a full-length mirror, a hand mirror, 2 chairs if you have them, you don't have to, a blow dryer, and a body map and pencil. So there's actually a few body maps available. Let me just pull these out. So I've included all these body maps in your folder available. The first one that I have here is from the Academy Association of Dermatology, and it actually has the ABCDEs of melanoma. And so if you have a moment to look through your folder, please review what exactly the ABCDEs of melanoma are, but I will let you know what they stand for. So A means asymmetry, B is for border, C is for color, D is for diameter, and then E is for evolving. So those are the things that you want to look for in your spots. You don't want them to be changing. You don't want them to be getting bigger. You don't want to see any blackish colored ones, unless it might be a regular mole. But that's where a dermatologist would come in to determine if it might be something that needs to be biopsied or not. And as you can see, the body maps that they have is a little small. So I did find a better body map that's actually a little bit bigger, and this is from the skincancer.org. And it also has a little reference sheet that you can determine how big that spot is. So what you want to do, in the first time that you do this at home, it's always going to be the longest because you have all these spots that you're recognizing for the first time and you have to document all of those. So let me give you an example. I have one right here. And so what you want to do is you want to make a line from that area out, and you want to put today's date or the date that you're doing the exam. Then you want to put the size. So if I use my little reference sheet here, I can probably see that it's about 3 to 4, so I'm going to mark it as 3.5 millimeters. And then you're going to put the color. So you're going to put probably tan, brown color on there for me. So if I do my self-examination 1 month later or 3 months later, if it's changed, if it's gotten bigger, I might need to go see my dermatologist. Alright, so actually I could have a partner come up here, and whoever this person that volunteers is, if they answer a question at the end, they will get a special gift. Do I have anyone that wants to come up here with me? Alright, Jeremiah, come right up.
Go ahead, chair. Teacher.
Yes, please.
I need to get second chair.
You'll be okay without the second chair.
Okay.
Alright, so here's your handheld mirror. And so first what you want to do is you want to go to your full-length mirror. And you want to look at your face. You want to look at your ears, your mouth, your lips. You want to identify any moles. And so when you have your body map, you want to be documenting those moles, but of course we don't want to have you here all day, so you won't be documenting his moles right now, or his spots. And it's not just moles, it's really any spot. Please document any scars as well, because they may not be scars. Alright, so whenever you're done looking, and you're also going to use a mirror. I know the mirror is not a little tall, but if the mirror was behind you, you would use a handheld mirror to look at the back of your head. Alright, and so now we're going to inspect your scalp. So that's where the blow dryer comes into play. So if you want to grab that blow dryer, and if you had a partner, you really wouldn't need a full-length mirror or the handheld mirror. You can just have your partner look over for you and be the person documenting your spots. But if you don't, you can use a hair dryer, and what you're going to do is you'll turn it on and you'll use it to spread your hair, because I know you might be thinking, I'm not going to find any spots underneath all my hair. You'll be surprised how many cases of skin cancer have been from spots underneath the hair, and only hairdressers were able to identify it. Why? Because they were, they're cutting your hair, they see, oh, what is that? You have a spot, I've never seen it there before. And so they're actually starting to recommend informing hairdressers about this so that they can probably let their clients know, hey, you have a suspicious spot on your head, you might want to get that examined.
Here, we go ahead and turn it on.
Sure, why not? Alright, he has gel, so we won't make him do that right now. Alright, you can put that down. And so the next thing that you want to do is you can actually put the hand mirror down too. Is you want to examine your hands. So you want to do your hands, the inside of your fingers, your palms, underneath your nails. And you want to keep going down to your forearms. Look at them back and front. And then you also want to examine underneath this area here. And so it can be difficult. So this is again where you would use the full-length mirror. Is you would stand in front of the mirror, hold your hand like this, and even make sure to examine your armpit area. Now, of course, when you're doing this, you do want to remove all of your clothing. We're not going to make you do that right now, but you do want to do that so you can see each inch of your body. So after you're done with your hands, your palms, your fingers, all right, we're going to examine your neck, chest, and your torso. And so for women, I really want you to also make sure that you're lifting your breast up and looking at underneath it, because some of that area you may not be able to see, but you might have those spots on there. Won't make you do that either. Alright, so then after you're done with the chest area, you want to, of course, use your hand-length mirror or your handheld mirror to examine your buttocks, the back of your legs. And then for your bottom portion of your legs, you want to sit down. And this is where another chair would come in handy. But since we don't have one, you could raise your leg. And so you want to examine your entire leg and even your feet. And make sure that when you're examining your feet, you're spreading your toes and looking in between each one of those. All right, well, thank you so much, Jeremiah, for volunteering. I do have that question, though. All right, so if you get this right, you do get a prize. What does the A, B, C, D, E's of melanoma stand for? What do those letters stand for?
Asymmetrical,
Okay?
borders, color,
Does anyone happen to remember
Dimensions.
what the D? Close. What's another metric that you might need to figure out?
Diameter.
diameter,
There we go.
and evolution or evolving.
Evolving. All right, perfect. You had some help there, so you might want to share that prize. But
I'll share it with you.
all right, there you go. Thank you so much. All right, so now let's do a little brainstorming. What are some of the things that we could all do to share this information that we just learned today with others? What are some ideas that we could do?
Spread the word around, start talking to family members, friends, co-workers.
Yeah, for sure. Anyone else?
Start training, you know, when you got little kids, make it into a habit of doing it every day. That way it gets set in their minds that that's something they need to do as part of a routine instead of they'll and have a little bit more, I guess, assurance that they are doing, you know, protecting themselves.
Right. That's very good. I know something that I see a lot is when we go to the beach, you might want to share, hey, whoa, you might need to put that on 20 to 30 minutes before we go outside. Or if you notice someone outside, hey, you might want to reapply again, you know, especially after swimming. I see that a lot. And so a lot of people, you really don't see them use sunscreen, only when you go to the beach. But it should be a daily thing. So actually one tip that I like to share with you is, for example, on your face for women, we tend to put on, you know, a lot of layers. So we're like, when do we put the sunscreen on? So whenever you're putting things on your face, you want to start with the thinnest to the thickest. So the most watery, like some people use acne medication, so you want to put that on first. Then you want to put on your moisturizer, then your sunscreen, and then your makeup. So your makeup's always going to be the last one. And so I know a lot of people also ask, but sunscreen makes me look white or pale if I put it on, especially for guys. If you're blending it correctly, it shouldn't do that to you. Does anyone else have anything else to share? Thank you so much for that. No? All right, well, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I know this was a lot of information. So again, like I said, I have those folders available for you to go home and read over that. There's additional skin myths, additional facts, more about sun care, things like that. And I do want to end it with this. Sorry, let me find my sheet here. Alright, so if you don't want to stop tanning or sunbathing because you still want to look good, before you start on your perfect tan, take a good look at a raisin. Ultraviolet exposure also causes wrinkles and aging of the sun. So while your tan may look good today, is this what you want to look like later on? I don't think so. He doesn't look very happy. Alright, thank you.